What is shaking, everybody? We are back, and it is my pleasure to welcome to the show a good friend of mine, a man that I have worked with many a time, long time ago. And you can catch him on the NFL Network. He does the Chris Rose Daily Rotation podcast, John Boy Media. Just one of the really good guys in media, and a guy that you can talk Cavs, you can talk Browns, you can talk Guardians, you can talk any sport you want to talk with him. But I know he's a big Cleveland fan, and we'll get into that in a little bit because the Cavs are rolling this year. My friend Chris Rose. Chris, how you doing?
Tommy, it's good to be with you. Good to be with you. We have rebranded the Chris Rose rotation. It is now Dugout Discussions with Chris Rose. It's a little bit different. So this year we started going out to the ballpark, which has kind of been really nice for me. So we do like a lengthy 10-minute interview with a star-ish.
Okay.
So the first 3 weeks, Bobby Witt Jr. of the Royals, Mike Trout. And then next week, it'll be Tarek Skubal, your reigning AL Cy Young Award winner, the Detroit Tigers. And then we also have kind of a fun little segment where my wife is involved. It's called Questions with the Queen. Those have been bouncing around social media, so maybe you've seen them. You can go check them out on our JM Baseball YouTube channel. Thank you.
Give me an idea of a question.
So some of the ones we did, we went around spring training to kind of get ahead of this, and we went to 5 different teams and probably talked to 30, 35 different players, and we'd ask them the same question, right? The same 6 or 7 questions, like what's your hidden talent? That one was good. We had a guy Alex Vesey of the Dodgers, a reliever, rides a unicycle. Who knew?
Okay. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, we had a guy do a bird call for us. A couple of guys who'd sing, not on camera, but claim they could be singers. Some guitar players, that sort of stuff. So it's good. It's quick, fun, in and out.
Does being able to sit and watch sports for 8 hours, does that count as a hidden talent? Because not a lot of people can have that type of stamina.
Well, if so, then I'm like at the top of the list because that's kind of my daily thing. I'm actually doing it while we're doing this interview. I'm watching. I just watched your Angels just hit a grand slam. You weren't recording the game, were you?
I am, but that's okay. I'm still happy. Who hit it?
I can't tell. All I know is that it happened, and now they've got their celebratory firefighters lid on. I don't know if that was Taylor Ward or not. I can't see from here. So they just went to break. I'll let you know, though.
Did he do the Walt Reniak, let the back go, like the big one-arm extension? That could have been Ward. Yeah, absolutely. Could have been. I don't really care who it is. All I know is the Angels are winning. And I always tell people it's early in the season. Don't overreact unless your team's in first place, and they're probably not going to be there very long. So I'm going to overreact, and I know we're rolling. The only game we lost to was at the time a first-place Chicago White Sox team. I don't think that's the case anymore, but I don't think it's going to last. But who knows? That's the beauty of the beginning of baseball season. Everybody has these fantasies about what their team could become, even though reality is sitting right on your other shoulder. And you think maybe you could piece it together and get lucky and stay healthy and stay in the race for a little while. So who knows? I can dream.
That was Logan O'Hoppe.
Hoppy. I like O'Hoppe.
Yeah, he's a good one. He's a good one.
Yeah, they don't even have Neto. You get Neto back. We rolling.
He had a great year last year. Great.
Yeah, he'll be a juggernaut.
Talk? Is this Angels?
What's that? Yes, absolutely. Be quiet.
All right.
Well, don't be quiet. But anyway, no, look. We as an Angel fan, you about a month into the season, it's over. But I guess the big story in baseball so far is the torpedo bats and how those are affecting, and that's usually where I break out the. Let's try to get a month into the season before we overreact to these things. I know the Yankees hit a bunch of home runs. They do have guys that can hit home runs. So let's see how it shakes out. But what are you hearing from players and people in baseball about the torpedo bats? To me, it's still really too early to tell, but I'm curious to see how this kind of unfolds.
Yeah, I don't think it's as big a deal to the players as it is. You know, we had Trevor McGill of the Milwaukee Brewers say, listen, I can't wait to see the data. Of course, it's the Yankees, so baseball's not going to care if they use them. Well, first of all, it's perfectly legal. And some guys were dabbling in it last year, not a ton. There have been a number of players since last weekend who have gone right to their people and have said, get me those bats as quickly as you can. Certainly makes sense. The only question I've got is if we do see a rise in offense, and they can somehow attribute it to these bats. Is that what baseball wants? That's all. Not whether it's legal, not whether or not it's fair. It's all legal. It's all fair. The Yankees did something wrong. You know who did something wrong last weekend? The Brewers. They threw the ball down the middle.
Yeah, that usually hurts.
Not hard enough. So that's what caused a lot of it. All I would say is you have to determine what sort of sport. Football does a great job of moving the goalposts all the time. It drives some people mad, but they determine, well, we don't like our sport, and so if you do this to a quarterback, you are going to get penalized. So it's just, if baseball sees something and they don't like the direction, go for it. Change things up. Right now, it's not.
No, I agree. What'd you think of the new Jackson Merrill contract? 9 years, 135, I think it was. And
awesome.
Could get some extra. You like that contract?
It's great. Are you
for
kidding
him?
me? For the Padres.
No, for the Padres, obviously, it's a great contract.
They just locked up a 21-year-old, and he's a stud, man. He learned center field at the major league level. That's freaking awesome to do what he did, and he's become a really good defender. But in this lineup, he's, they'll talk about Tatis, they'll talk about Luis Ariz and how he handles the bat, and they'll talk about Manny Machado and Xander Bogaerts getting paid $280+ million, and here comes Jackson Merrill. He is a bad kid. Like, you could tell, even day one of this year, of year two, that he means business, because he stepped in against the reigning Cy Young Award winner and Chris Sale, who is as nasty a lefty on lefty at bat as you've got. And he gave great at bats against him. So he's 21. He won't turn 22 for another couple weeks. Good to be him, and great to be the Padres, who played this masterfully, in my opinion.
Yeah. Do you feel like it hit me? And I don't know if you thought about the juxtaposition between Jackson Merrill signing that deal and Acuna and Albies signing that deal. Because I remember when they signed their deal, there was this huge backlash of how the Braves took advantage of Acuna and took advantage of Albies, and they signed into these deals that they could have been worth a lot more. And I'm like, well, these guys are grown men. I mean, I know, they come from a different country. They have agents, though, and they decided, hey, this is good for me. This is what I want to do. This is what I want to sign. But I just remember a lot of backlash about thinking the Braves took advantage of them and signing into this deal. It's still too early, maybe, for the Merrill deal to think, well, they're not going to say they took advantage of Merrill, but did that hit you at all? That, like, it's the sentiment seems a little different in this signing than it was with those two with the Braves?
Well, yeah, I called it on our Baseball Today podcast. I do. It's a daily with former Major Leaguer Trevor Plouffe. And I did call it it's the Padres version of a Ronald Acuna deal, right? And yet for years I have said that, I mean, the day Ronald Acuna signed that, I said he's going to blow past this. I don't know if it's going to be a year from now or 2 years from now or whatever. He has way blown past it. He's making $17 million a year.
Yeah.
Ronald Acuna is not a $17 million a year ball player.
Of course not.
Now, his health issues are whatever they are. And that's why you sign this sort of contract, just to make sure, God forbid, you can't come back and be the player that you once were, that then by the time you reach free agency, you're not like, oh my God, do I have to go on a 1 year or 2 year prove it deal? Well, he would never have had to do that anyway, because his talent is astronomical. But you look at Ozzie Albies, 7 years, $35 million for this guy who's a switch hitter with pop in the middle of your lineup that can run and play second base. Like, yeah, that's one of those where. But once again, I can't tell you. I didn't grow up. I grew up here in the States. It is different.
Yeah.
It is totally different. And so, but Jackson Merrill, 21, and they're going to offer you $135 million guaranteed with the possibility of taking it over $200 million.
Yeah.
And you're still going to be a free agent before you're 30. Sign me up.
Yeah. Is the Dodger roster the greatest roster that we've seen in the last 40, 50 years? And for me, Chris, it's not the lineup, because hell, the Indians back in the 90s had a lineup that could stack up with the Dodger lineup, if not surpass it. Early 2000 Red Sox and Yankees had an incredible lineup. I could go back to the Big Red Machine of the 70s. I mean, there were great lineups, but the pitching is what takes it over the top. It's like having basically four aces and a 2, or 3 1s and 2, whatever you want to say. I mean, it's just every single day if they stay healthy. And then the back end of the bullpen is filthy. Like, I don't think I've ever seen the lineup with the starting pitching, with the relief pitching in my lifetime of this type of roster. I mean, this roster is just incredibly jam-packed.
Yeah, I can't remember it because it's the depth. It's their next 5 in a rotation is better than half the league's first 5.
Yeah.
If not more so than that. Could be even better than top half. Because of this new show that I've been doing, I've been spending a lot of time at Dodger Stadium. I'll interview the other team that's in. So in a 3-day span, I was interviewing Detroit Tigers and Atlanta Braves. Saturday, I got to sit and watch Clayton Kershaw throw a simulated game, a live BP, essentially. Monday, I then watched Evan Phillips, who's one of their top relievers and throws a bazillion miles an hour, throw one. Tony Gonsolin is going to be doing it again in the near future. Brusdar Graterol, who knows if he's coming back at all. But it's just a number of arms. And the Dodgers' regular season for them is twofold. Do they care about trying to press the all-time win total of 116 in a season? They say they don't care, but you never know. And number 2, it's all about finding the 26 best and healthiest players by the time we get to October. Essentially, it's a 6-month audition against the other guys in the dugout. That's what it is, because there's 35 guys that can legitimately play on their 40-man roster. It's incredible.
Well, who says they have to care to get to 117 wins? They might not care and still get to 117 wins. I can't wait for the I-5 World Series. Let's go. Dodgers, Angels. All right, let's get to the Giants. I just want to get your thoughts on the Giants, which may be, one of the toughest divisions in baseball. I'd say the American League East is going to be pretty stacked this year, and that one's going to be a juggernaut. But if the Giants are better than they were last year, the D-backs fortified not only their rotation but their team in the offseason. Padres off to a great start. We know their rotation, and then the Dodgers we just talked about. But that's going to be a hell of a division. Where do you think the Dodgers are in that division, or kind of land in the division?
You mean the Giants?
The Giants. I'm sorry, I said Dodgers. My bad.
Right. So at the beginning of the season, I think on our opening day show, we wondered whether or not the Giants could surpass the Padres as the third best team, because I actually have Arizona as 2.
Okay.
I think they're pretty talented. I
agree.
The Giants, I don't hate what they've done at all. I thought the Verlander move was pretty smart. I'm a huge Willy Adames guy. Are his numbers going to go down in that ballpark? Most likely, yes. I think so. Will the contract age great? Probably not. But he's also a dude who, it's more than just punching in his numbers. He's such a happy-go-lucky dude, and I really think that means something in a 162-game schedule.
I agree.
I really believe it. And, it's a long year, and guys go in 1 for 21 ruts, and if you're the same dude that has great energy every day, that's a big deal. So it wouldn't shock me to see them fight it out for a wild card. It wouldn't. I think that they can hang with those teams. Now you've got the Braves are going to get this thing straightened out at some point. It's ugly right now, but they will get it straightened out. I don't know if there's more than one team in the Central that can make it. I like the Cubs personally. I'm a little worried about the Brewers this year. They've lost so much good talent over the last 2 years that I think this is the year it catches up with them. I think Cincinnati is a team to watch, even though they're off to a slow start. But in the East, you've got 3 teams in the Braves, Mets, and Phillies that are legit dogs.
Yeah.
And they're going to fight this out. And then I think 3, 4 in the West. So somebody's getting bounced. And 2 teams might even get bounced, possibly, depending how that NL East gets going.
Yeah, I think, I mean, the way I looked at it to start the year, I said Phillies, Braves, Dodgers. And then the rest of the spots, you can battle for the rest of the spots. But I think those, to me, on paper, if they're healthy, are the three best teams. And the Dodgers are really the only team that doesn't have like a weakness right now. But I think the Phillies, it's going to be a fun series this weekend when they play the Dodgers. And then the Braves, I agree with you. They'll figure it out, and they're going to be back up there as well. So, I mean, Mets, D-backs, Padres, Giants, I mean, Cubs. I mean, and there's always this. That's one thing about baseball that I love, too. There's always a surprise team that's there that you didn't expect, and they hang in there. Maybe not the whole season, but they give you a good run for their money. So that'll be fun. And then the American League's a little different, where they don't have that top heaviness that the National League does. I mean, you have the Angels, of course, but other than that, I'm not really sure who you would look at. The Yankees, Royals.
Yeah, it's why so many people pick the Yankees this year, is that there weren't monumental moves made by teams in the American League outside of Boston making the trade for Crochet and bringing in Bregman. I just didn't think these other teams did well enough. Some people say Toronto. I felt a little bit. I don't know. I think that there's a bad mix up there, not bad guys. I just think for whatever reason, it hasn't worked out in recent years. I think the Central's going to be interesting because I think you could have 4 teams that could win it. I don't think any of them are great. I think probably the winner of that division gets 86 wins. So yeah, that's that.
All right, let me switch to the NFL and get your thoughts.
Let's do
it. Your thoughts on Brock Purdy, because I think it's so funny that the number that he's about to sign for shocks people, because they still can't get over the fact he's a 7th rounder. They still can't let that go, even though that was like 3 years ago, and he's already proven what he can do in the NFL. People still expect the bubble to burst for whatever reason. It's just like when you're a number 1 overall pick, you get more chances than everybody else, even though maybe you've proven you can't play. People are like, well, they drafted him that high for a reason. I think it works in reverse for a guy like Purdy. And really, it's all about the percentage of the salary cap anyway. It's not about the raw number. It's about what percentage of the salary cap you're taking up. But how do you see this thing working itself out? Like, I don't know what he's going to get. I don't know if the Josh Allen signing has any effect on it. Like, okay, we're not going over Josh Allen. We're not. I don't know how it's going to work itself out. I think it will. But what do you think about the whole thing? And still, people out there saying, I don't know what there is not to know about Brock Purdy at this point.
Well,
I sense bad news coming.
No, it's not bad news, because he's a great story. I mean, who doesn't? He was the last freaking pick of the draft, and he's proven to be a franchise-ish quarterback. And I hate throwing ISH.
Yeah, what the ish mean? What's the ish for?
The ish is, if you could have your choice, Joe Burrow or Brock Purdy, who are you taking?
Joe Burrow.
If you could take Josh Allen,
or Mahomes, or Lamar Jackson.
Exactly. So the problem is this sport has not separated its tiers well enough. And so now the choice is, well, because Brock Purdy's up, now we have to pay him like Joe Burrow. And I think that's a way to get in trouble. It just is. Here's what I would say. If Brock Purdy had been a free agent in March of this past year, available to anybody, with all these teams that need quarterbacks, Cleveland, the Giants, Pittsburgh, who's the best of all the teams that needs quarterbacks, the Jets before they went and got Justin Fields, the Raiders before they traded for Geno. The Seahawks would have had Geno at that point. So all those teams that need quarterbacks, do we think that Brock Purdy would he have gotten $65 million a year? Are we sure about that?
I don't know if we're sure about anything. I don't think he's going to get 65 with the Niners, but I don't know.
I don't know either. So that's my point.
That seems like an awfully rich number, but
I would be okay with him if I were a Niners fan. I would say this. sign him up for $40 million a year. Does he say no to $40 million a year?
Yes. I think it's starting with a 5.
Okay, but that's my question.
It's going to start with a 5.
If it starts with a 5, if you're the Steelers, do you think that he's the missing piece?
I don't know.
Like, I would put Cleveland in a different situation because offensively they're not nearly as talented as some other teams. The Giants do have some pieces. They've got decent parts on their offensive line, including a stud left tackle if he can stay healthy. They've got a great number 1 receiver as long as he can keep his head screwed on.
Yeah, Neighbors
he is awesome. They've got a good enough running back where if they felt like they had to upgrade somewhere down the line, they could do that. But are we sure that Brock Purdy goes into those situations and turns them for whatever they are into a Super Bowl team?
Well, I'll answer it this way. We mentioned the 4. Burrow, Allen, Mahomes, Jackson. Those are the 4. We're sure we could put them anywhere and they could turn it around. They're good to go. The other guy I would put kind of in a separate category is Stafford because he's a little bit older, but I still think Stafford's ahead of like Purdy too. Like for one season, I think Stafford's incredible.
Yeah, but he's a different category. We're talking strictly about guys in their 20s.
But okay. So what's Hurts making? What's Love making? What are all those guys making? Because to me, Purdy is right there with all those guys. That's like the next group. And if you're going to tell me that now I put him behind Trevor Lawrence or Dak Prescott or Love or Hurts or Herbert, you can put him in there too. Like to me, Purdy's a part of that group. And it's not so much what they make now, it's what they signed for. And that's why I go to the percentage of the salary cap. Like what percentage of the salary cap did you sign for at the time you signed? Because you know how it is. I mean, things just keep escalating and, he may sign. I mean, Garoppolo was the highest paid quarterback for like a couple seconds. And all of a sudden he was like 15th highest paid quarterback.
Right. But it wasn't even, I think if I remember correctly, the Jimmy G stuff, I know obviously the salary cap was significantly lower, but it didn't feel like it was that much of a percentage. We'd have to go back and look at it. But
yeah, we'd have to. It was like 100 and it was like 27 a year or something like that for 5 years.
So you're asking Dak right now is the highest per year,
correct.
I believe.
Yes.
At 60. Then Burrow, Allen, Love, Lawrence are all at 55.
Okay.
And 2 of those have question marks next to him, right? I like Jordan Love, but he took I wouldn't say a step back last year. He just didn't take a step forward. Trevor Lawrence has not been good yet.
No.
Tua has been fine when he stayed on the field, but go win me a playoff game at some point. Jared Goff, I think, has really found a nice. Now he's at 53. He and Tua are both at 53. Herbert, who some people are like, well, I've got to put him in that group that we talked about earlier. He's not in that group for me. He's pretty impressive, but he's not in that group for me. He's at 52. Hurts is at 51. And then you dip down to Kyler Murray and Deshaun Watson, who are at 46. So, like, that's where I would put Purdy. Okay, I would put him behind because some of these teams were forced. The Dolphins had to make a move on Tua. They had to decide we're either gonna cut him loose or we're going to franchise him or we're going to give him the big deal here. One of those 3, and they ended up giving him the big deal. And you know what? If they don't make the playoffs this year, that regime's going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
That regime's going to be in trouble. You're still going to be stuck with Tua, who's going to be now in his late 20s. And we're like, they're good. They're good. Do we need a quarter?
Yeah.
So with Brock Purdy, all I'm saying is that I would love to get him on our number if I'm the Niners, which I'd be comfortable with in the mid-40s. Get to the mid-50s. I don't know, man. You got to
see. That's right.
Areas they got to shore up.
No, I totally agree with you on that. But I would be comfortable in the mid-50s just because the salary cap is going up and up and up. And again, I don't think the percentage of the salary cap is going to be as big as some of the other quarterbacks we talked about when they signed those deals. And I just hate the fact that he got dinged because of all the weapons he's had. Well, he has Shanahan and he has the weapons. And I keep saying, well, why didn't Kurt Warner get dinged for having Isaac Bruce and Torrey Holt and Marshall Faulk? Why didn't Peyton Manning get dinged for having two Pro Bowl wide receivers, or two Hall of Fame wide receivers, a damn near Hall of Fame running back, and a great tight end in Dallas Clark? Well, because Kurt Warner looked the part. He was big arm and everything. And then Peyton, of course, was the number 1 pick overall, and they expected that from him. But it's just something about Purdy that people aren't willing to. I just feel like they're trying to find reasons for why he's as good as he is, because he can't possibly be that good being the last overall pick. So and look,
okay,
we both
Tommy,
know this. Yeah.
Tommy, you're having a draft of a quarterback draft right now.
Yep.
Of the 32 guys who will start week 1 next year. When does Brock Purdy get taken?
Somewhere between 6 and 10.
Oh, no way. He's not going to be 6. No way.
Are you asking me if I'm drafting?
Okay, we've already mentioned a handful. So
you asking me if I'm drafting or where I think he would go?
Yeah, whatever you want to do.
If you're asking me if I'm drafting him somewhere between 6 and 10.
Okay, so we've already knocked out Burrow, Allen, Lamar, Mahomes. Those are the top 4. You take him before Jalen? Okay, then that's your 5th. Do you take him before or after Jalen Hurts?
Before.
You take him before Jalen Hurts?
Before.
Okay.
So I need to BEFORE. Yeah, before. Yeah, I'll take him before. Give me another one.
Do you take him before Dak Prescott?
Oh, before.
Wow, I think Dak's a pretty good quarterback without anything. Yes. He hasn't had anything down there.
No, I don't think Dak's bad. I would just absolutely take him before. You're going to keep asking. Love, I would take him before. Goff, I would take him before. The only one I'm hesitant on is Herbert. Herbert, I really like. I mean, and he hasn't even won a playoff game. He was awful against the Texans last year in the playoffs. But I do like Herbert. I do think Herbert's pretty damn good, and he's going to win something one of these days, especially with Harbaugh being the coach. Yeah.
Would you take him ahead of Jaden Daniels?
That's a tricky one, because I hate, like, 1 year to me. I'd love to see one more year.
Yeah,
because way too many times do I look at somebody and go, I don't know. And then the next year you're like, oh, that guy's pretty good. And then you're like, oh, he's really good. He's not as good as I thought he was going to be. So that's a tough one, though, because Jaden Daniels he was special last year. I mean, really, really special.
He was great.
So
I'll tell you who else I wouldn't. I would take Drake May ahead of him. I think Drake May is going to be. I'm serious. Yep.
That's enough.
Tommy.
That's enough. Drake May.
I am not believe me, I am not a Patriots guy. I saw that guy twice. I called 2 of his games last year. He's going to be a stud. He's going to be.
Purdy already is a stud. See, you're part of the naysayers. I wore you down.
No, I'm not part of the naysayers. I am part of the group that says, here's what I would pay him. And if not, then we got to move on.
Okay.
But I think
it's so hard to find a quarterback.
I know it is. But you know why? That's because people settle for decent. Like I said, like the Dolphins had a ton of talent. They have not won a freaking playoff game.
No.
You know, like everything's got to be perfect with them. Everything's got to be perfect. There can't be a little hole in the wall with them. You know, the house has got to be absolutely perfect. You know how all sorts of shit falls apart in your house, right?
Yeah.
You can't buy one of those. Not with this franchise. Everything's got to be perfect. What else we got, Tommy?
That's hysterical. Finally, I mean, we don't get to spend a lot of time on this, but I was happy to see finally the NFL is going to use Hawkeye for first downs. I mean, hasn't this been a long time in the making? Like, we don't have to have Gene Steratore come out with the index card to make sure we're not touching. I mean, that was a great moment in history, of course. But aren't we glad we got to Hawkeye now? I don't know if they're going to be able to see through the bodies per se,
right?
But at least it feels like we're making progress.
Yeah, there's a few things that it feels like we could look and see if we could make technological improvements in that world, right? The chip in the football, like whether or not it's the goal line, so we don't have to imagine the goal line going up to wherever in outer space the goal line actually ends vertically. But the owners' meetings, I will say this: the owners' meetings in the NFL are uber entertaining because they are constantly changing stuff, constantly. So
you got to be happy. Deshaun Watson's got to be may have played his last game for the Browns. That has to make you feel good.
I am. Listen, I do preseason. Good. I do the preseason games.
I know you do.
TV
you do a very nice job at it as well.
And it has. I appreciate that. It has been a challenge because you could say whatever you want about the Browns when they made the trade. Like you could say, "Well, why are you doing that? It's horrible." Let's not let the Houston Texans off the hook. Like they were, whatever did or did not happen with Deshaun Watson off the field, the Texans don't come out of this scot-free. So for people who are like, yeah, I'm rooting for the Texans, let's just slow our roll a little bit on that part. The other part of the equation is nobody thought when they traded for Deshaun Watson that the football part would be something that the Browns would have to worry about. Nobody. Because if you dial it back to 2020, even when the Texans, I think, were 4-12, he was still a good ascending quarterback in his mid-20s. Whatever happened. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'm just talking about the football side of things here. It was atrocious. It looked like he had never played football. And I don't know what happened. I don't know what transpired. The Browns scrapped their offense, in which in 2023 they made the playoffs when they started 5 different quarterbacks, including a dude who was 40 years old throwing to his old man when he was sleeping on his brother's couch or something. Like, and so when Deshaun Watson comes back, they're like, okay, well, now he's back. So I don't know. It's tough.
Yeah, you're gonna be happy when he's
But
gone.
I do want to say one last thing about the Browns quarterback situation. Everybody who says, well, they had Baker right in their backyard, they screwed that one up. Baker Mayfield would not be the player he is today if he hadn't been traded to Carolina, then released and gone to the Rams.
I agree.
He needed to go through all of that stuff in order to become the player he is. I'm just saying it.
I agree.
The guy who watched every single one of his Browns snaps, they could have won games with him. I think they felt like they could have competed for championships with Deshaun Watson. I know it sounds ridiculous right now, but if you hit the way back button, it's not as crazy as it sounds.
No, I agree. And I have nothing personal against the Browns. They just employed Deshaun Watson. So wherever Deshaun Watson goes, that's who I'll root against. Doesn't matter. You can go to Houston.
I get it. Listen, every team, Tommy, you played with great guys in your career. You played against great guys in your career. You played against guys you wouldn't want within a mile of your house.
What do you mean? I played with guys I wouldn't want within a mile of my house.
Yes.
You kidding me?
Right. And so that's, people are always like, well, how can you root for him? Well, listen, I have been, and a lot of your listeners have been fans of a certain team way longer than when certain people you don't like or agree with. If that's how you're going to judge your rooting interest based on, then you're not going to root for any team.
No, but
I guarantee it. You won't like who they are, what they do, what their political opinions are about, how they treat people. And like I said, most of them are wonderful, but you're not going to agree with every. Just like when you go out to a restaurant, do you check the background of every ownership group of a restaurant? Do you check the background of every musician when you go see a concert? Do you check the background of every actor when you go watch something? If you stream something at home? No, you want to be entertained. I want to be entertained. And I want to root for my team. Yeah,
I check on everybody. Yeah, I check on everybody.
Now
I'm very conscientious when it comes to that stuff.
If they check your background,
hey, trust me. The people are pretty happy out in the Bay Area when Nick Bosa gets a sack, regardless whether he wears a MAGA hat or not.
Right.
They don't give a shit. It's like, go get him, Nick. I don't care.
And you shouldn't care.
You shouldn't care.
That's why
I keep telling people. I go, if you're a sports fan, you wouldn't watch sports if you knew half your team and what they rooted for and what they did and what they believed in. I go, and you shouldn't have to care, unless it's criminal. If it's criminal, then go ahead and care about that kind of stuff. But other than that, just root for your team.
But
just root for your
when
team.
When we deal with the criminals, because there are, just like there are podcasters who have shitty backgrounds.
Yep.
There are all sorts of people in every profession that have bad stuff, okay? We get that. Ultimately, it's the owner's decision. They are the people who come up with, like, you can't get signed if you've got a crappy background unless somebody signs off on it.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, that's how you have to decide how you're going to run your business.
Yeah. Well, I mean, somebody just brought up that I don't like Girl Scouts, though. I mean, that could be a red flag.
You don't like Girl Scouts or Girl Scout cookies?
No, Girl Scouts, because they sell Girl Scout cookies. They're like little terrorists out there making me buy cookies. And then I go to Safeway and they make me buy them again. They make me feel guilty for buying them. I'm like, well, no, I don't want your damn cookies. I just buy your cookies. I don't want cookies.
We're done.
So, no, we're not done. All right, let me ask you about the real quick. 1 to 10, 10 being pretty damn confident, 1 not so much. Where the Cavs going to end up this year? They have enough to get by the Celtics? Because I think they do. I think the Cavs are pretty damn good.
Yeah, the Cavs are good.
Yeah, they're really good.
So
and the DeAndre Hunter signing was really nice. That was a great trade.
Yeah, it was a good trade. For people that haven't watched the Cavs much this year, they are a really fluid offensive team. They're not what the Warriors were a couple years ago. They're a little bit different, but they really have a nice ability. The question mark coming into this year with the Cavs was twofold. A, is their starting backcourt too small when they get to the playoffs? And last I checked, Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland have not grown since last year. And the other question was their front court too big? And what I mean by that is, can you play Jared Allen and Evan Mobley together in crunch time of a playoff game when neither of them can really stretch the floor? And those are
I don't know, Chris. I think Mobley can stretch the floor plenty.
He's gotten better.
He's not a dead-eye three-point shooter, but he's adequate. You can't just leave him.
I know. Well, but they're going to. And Tom, that's the thing. He has improved significantly. He is now not afraid, but shooting the ball on January 27th against, the Utah Jazz in a game where 1 of 82 is way different than in game 4 of the Eastern Conference semis against the New York Knicks with the entire world watching.
Yeah.
So,
no, there's no doubt.
Those are the questions. So you're asking me 1 to 10? I'll put it in the middle because they're talented enough to win it.
Yeah.
There are legitimate questions, and it doesn't mean I'm such a hater. And I love my team. I think they are so easy to root for. Such a likable group of guys. They're fun. They get along great. You don't hear crap about them. They're all dudes. They play hard. The whole bit. It's just they have to show this. That's all.
And every coach is a really good guys and a great job there. Kenny Atkinson has done a fantastic job. All right, a couple quick questions and we'll let you get on out of here. What was the one meal your mom made that you couldn't wait to get to the dinner table to eat?
She made an amazing chicken. It was kind of a breaded chicken that she cooked on tin foil. And so we would eat the chicken. The chicken was great. But all of the breading that got stuck to the tin foil, my brother and I would fight it out. Like I would get up from the dinner table early and he would give me this look like this. And I'd be like, no, I'm done with dinner. And everybody knew exactly what I was doing. So I was peeling the crust off of the tin foil, and I barely saved him any.
Okay, what's the one thing your mom made that you didn't want to come to the dinner table for?
My mom was she was a wonderful cook. She really was. There had to have been something that was.
Yeah, mine was meatloaf.
She used to make liver.
What?
She made liver.
Oh, I don't think I've ever had liver.
She did. She made liver. And I was like, but you got to remember, my parents were old when they had me. I'm old right now. They were old when they had me. My parents were born in 1928.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. They've been gone.
Wow.
My mom's been gone 17 years. My dad, 13. So they were born in the Great Depression.
Yeah. Liver.
Liver. I think that was a big thing back then.
Okay. I think you're probably right. Okay. What did you get? What's the most trouble you got into as a kid?
Oh, it's great.
What did you do and what punishment did you receive?
So I was great as a teenager. I was a dick before then. I got the Browns' first playoff game when I was like in my formative years was January of 1981 against the eventual champion Oakland Raiders. It was one of the coldest games ever in playoff history. Late Mike Davis, picked off the Brian Sipe in the end zone to preserve.
Yep, I remember that.
14-12 Oakland win. You can check me on it. I was supposed to go to the game, and I couldn't. I was grounded because, do you remember the little toy Playmobiles? Do you remember Playmobiles? They were like these little plastic figures. They bent at the waist. Go look them up. Go Google them.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no. I know what you're talking about now. I know what you're talking about.
I took them in our garage, and I spray painted them all black on our stairs. And then I went
on your stairs?
Yes, on our stairs.
Oh, no.
Our cement stairs. And then I went and flushed them down the toilet. So, A, I ruined the stairs, and B, I ruined the plumbing.
What?
So,
what was the goal there? Like, what were you?
Yeah,
Did you have a goal? Did you have a plan?
I don't know. I mean, I'm just happy I didn't turn into a serial killer. Like, that's what it sounds like those people would do.
Oh, speaking of serial killers, it's funny you brought that up. So, Chris is like, why would you say that? Because we have a March Madness style bracket featuring serial killers. We're down to the Fiendish Four right now.
Hey, listen, come on. This better be chalk because this better be chalk.
Zodiac took down Jeffrey Dahmer, believe it or not.
No, okay, stop. I have to stop right there. I covered Jeffrey Dahmer's first murder. Okay. It happened in Northeast Ohio in a place called Bath, Ohio, which is an affluent suburb not far from Akron.
Yep.
And, when they discovered all the bodies in Milwaukee, they were like, we need to go back and check his parents' place. So I was interning at a radio station in that summer, and they were like, hey, there's a bunch of scuttlebutt going on at Dahmer's family house. Drive out there. And so I went out there with my little tape recorder, and people are running out of the house. There's all these huge satellite trucks parked like a mile away. And we go, they found another bone. And I was like,
oh my God.
Can I just go cover sports for a living?
Wow.
Yeah. So
how old were you?
I was 20.
Oh my gosh.
I was 20 or 21, whatever it was.
I'm with you, but look, Zodiac's a hometown kid here in the Bay Area. So that's why he won. So we just decided, I've always wanted to do this bracket for like 20 years, and I finally got around to doing it because you know what? Who's going to be mad at me now? No one cares. Hey, I just do my own stuff. So there we go. So
I bet you didn't have this on your bingo card that your guest today could actually add something.
I did not. Like, it went from you wondering why you saying serial killer resonated with me, and then you tagged it with a story about somebody who just got eliminated. I mean, it's like you put a bow on it. I mean, that's it. You're right. That is it. I couldn't have imagined that's where it would end, and neither could you.
That's pro. That's where we go.
By the way, I got to get a Reno Aces hat. Yeah, that's the hat Chris has on right there. It's a drink. It's a cocktail on the. I mean, how great are minor league baseball hats? They're the best.
Holding a torpedo bat, by the way. Holding a torpedo.
Holding a torpedo bat. Let everybody know. I know you do the NFL Network, but let everybody know the name of the podcast again because I screwed it up already. I don't want to screw it up again.
We changed the name. It's called Dugout Discussions with Chris Rose. You can find it on our JM Baseball YouTube page, or just follow me on social media. I'm always retweeting stuff out at Chris Rose. I know it's very original. Nobody wanted it. And then I do a daily baseball podcast called Baseball Today with former Major Leaguer Trevor Plouffe. It's quick. It's 35 minutes. We cover a handful of topics every Monday through Friday.
Really good stuff.
Thank you. So we do that. We have fun. And with John Boy Media and our Warehouse Games, which is our content creation palace. So it's always fun.
No, it's awesome. You still do BattleBots, don't you?
We haven't done BattleBots in a few years. We got killed by the writers' strike, which is
really.
They do have a live show, which is awesome for people out in Las Vegas. So I recommend going to see that. That's with the co-creators of BattleBots. They've done a nice job with that. But as far as bringing it back, so that we can enjoy it on TV or streaming service. We'll keep our fingers crossed that maybe one day somebody wises up and does that, because it was a blast.
Yeah, because I've always thought the writing was an integral part of BattleBots. They're just fucking bots bashing into each other. What kind of writing you need? It's not Lord of the Rings.
Hey, man, that's why they hire you. So you could. I am the Gus Johnson of BattleBots. I just scream my head off for 3 minutes.
Oh my God. My Angel's still leading, by the way?
Tommy.
No, things have
gone
gone
bad.
bad.
47 minutes I have been on here, or it just feels that long. It's now tied at 5, but
okay.
The Cardinals have the bases loaded and nobody out in the 8th, so it's not ideal right now.
That is not ideal. Thanks for the good news, though. I definitely appreciate it. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate the time as always, and hopefully get a chance to talk from time to time. But I always appreciate your stuff, and I appreciate you joining the show.
You know I'll do it anytime for you, Tommy. Lose my number. All right. Thank you for having me on.
See you, Chris. Have a good day.
See you, bud.
Chris Rose, everybody. He is absolutely one of the best.